All right, time to go teach. Hello and welcome to this next episode of Tutor Tutors, where we are continuing our tour with the cell. The endomembrane system is where we are at. We are going to be looking at the use of genetic material for the cell. All cells, all life, has genetic material. And how in the world is that genetic material used? That's what we're going to be looking at through the next few lessons. Target of the day is just to introduce the components that make up the endomembrane system. The second target is to describe the structure and function of each part of our system. So we are just going to look at what they are, and then we're going to describe what they do. So first, the organelles that are involved. Well, it's the nucleus, found in both plant and animal cells. It is the endoplasmic reticulum, and it is also the Golgi bodies, apparatus, complex. It has different things, but you could just actually call it the Golgis. That works as well. They are the different organelles, and let's look at them. So first off, what is the nucleus? Well, the nucleus, many of you probably are aware, it contains the DNA of the cell. The nucleus also has a double membrane, which is really useful for protection for the DNA, and it would also have proteins on the inside of the nucleus, so that way the DNA can actually be used, because proteins are the working molecules of the cell. It is the location where ribosomes are actually going to be built. That would be in the nucleolus. And it's where two really important processes take place. Transcription, which we'll be going over in the next few lessons, and a process called replication, which is when our DNA gets replicated. So when our cells reproduce, they have enough DNA that goes into each cell. We will talk about that much later. The endoplasmic reticulum, well, it has two different parts to it. We have the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, that would be this area up here, where there are no ribosomes present. And it is involved in actually detoxification of the cell, and it's involved in the synthesis of lipids. This is where extra phospholipids would be built, for example, for the cell to grow and get larger. This is going to be an extremely important aspect to our cell. It's also going to be where a hydrolysis, or the breaking down of some carbohydrates, will take place. On the other hand, this other area is called the rough endoplasmic reticulum because it has ribosomes on it, and that makes it look bumpy in nature, and thus it's called the rough endoplasmic reticulum. It's where polypeptides are going to be packaged and then transported. The reason why polypeptides are going to be important there is because ribosomes build polypeptides. And so, since they're there, polypeptides are going to have to be packaged from that point. And lastly, of our organelles, we have the Golgi, and it's going to be involved in processing, packaging, and transporting of our polypeptides. It will modify the polypeptides somewhat to actually make them a little bit more usable. It contains enzymes that are anchored within the membranes that allow for these different processes to take place. The vesicle will come in, and the molecules will enter on the cis side, and they will go through the different stacks of membranes to then exit from the trans side. And through that process, they are going to get modified, and that could be like glycosylation or phosphorylation or something of the sort to allow for those polypeptide chains to become the full functioning protein that is required. Other structures that are actually involved, well, obviously ribosomes found on the rough ER. So we have ribosomes right here. There's actually two parts that make up a ribosome. And ribosomes are involved in polypeptide synthesis, which is actually called translation. So we will look very deeply at what translation is after we look at transcription. And the other structure that is involved is transport vesicles, which could have the polypeptides inside them that would be sent out from the rough endoplasmic reticulum to the Golgi bodies, and then from the Golgi bodies to the plasma membrane of the cell. That is going to be how our transport vesicles can be used. All right, so in summary of all this, The endomembrane system is made up of 3 different organelles: the nucleus, the endoplasmic reticulum, and the Golgi bodies. It also involves some different structures. That would be the ribosomes and the transport vesicles. And all of these are going to be interconnected for the process of protein production. And that is what it's all about. That's how we are going to have all of these different parts interconnected, and we're going to follow that process in the next few lessons. Until then, be awesome, stay awesome.